Law school gave me the confidence to put myself on the internet, but I'll get into that a bit later. If you're new here, hello, and if you're a returning friend, welcome back. My name is Mithya and I'm a lawyer practicing in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. I make videos about my experience of becoming a lawyer and how I'm doing after this whole journey. Please subscribe if you'd like to see more. Growing up in a Brown family, I was under the impression that there are only 3 viable career options available to me: doctor, engineer, or lawyer. So naturally, being the type A firstborn and only daughter in a South Asian family, I decided to go with a career in law. Back then, I think deep down I wanted to do something creative, but in 2012, I didn't know what that could look like. I didn't have any role models in creative fields, and social media wasn't as big as it is today. Back then, we were still trying to figure out Instagram and slapping on the Valencia filter on every photo, which was why law was appealing to me. Not only would my parents approve, but it was a fixed path. I know that if I write the LSATs, get into law school, do 3 years of law school, do articling, write the bar exams, and get called to the bar, that I'll become a lawyer. Saying it out loud right now makes me realize how much life and work that took out of me. But having a set path felt more comfortable than the less traveled and less familiar creative route, which at the time pretty much felt like a choose-your-own-adventure. Despite the long journey to becoming a lawyer, I don't regret going to law school. I'd go so far as to say that law school changed my life. Here's why. Trying to get into law school made me goal-oriented. It encouraged me to set a goal and to relentlessly pursue it. Early on in this journey, I realized that I may not be a competitive candidate, so I took the time to improve my credentials. I went to the University of Toronto for my undergrad, and I was a commuter student, so I didn't really stay behind for extracurriculars and club activities. The problem was that some of the law schools that I was applying to were looking for well-rounded candidates, not just students with high GPAs. So I found organizations with missions that aligned with my values, and I volunteered with them. I put aside 2 years after my undergrad to develop my CV and to study for the LSATs in order to make myself a competitive candidate. Trying to get into law school taught me persistence. I wrote the LSAT twice to be a competitive candidate. First time I wrote the LSAT, I scored a 156, and I was reading online that to be competitive, that we should be scoring a 160. So I booked another test and I studied for another 4 months. The second time around, I scored a 158. It took everything in me to study for the LSAT a second time around. While my friends were starting off in their careers, I was committing to more years of the student life. I was studying for a test that may or may not get me into law school. I got off social media and I hunkered down for this exam. I drilled for the LSAT with practice questions and tests. I did so many logic games that it went from being my least favorite section of the LSAT to my most favorite. Once in law school, I felt encouraged to be different and to embrace my quirks. First day of orientation, I quickly realized that I was no longer the smartest person in the room. Surrounded by people who were as smart or smarter than me. It's a highly competitive and selective process, so the people you're going to be working with in law school are bound to be impressive. If you think about it, it makes sense. I went to Windsor Law, which receives about 1,800 to 2,200 applications for the JD program every year. Out of those, only about 170 spots are filled. By my second year, I realized that instead of receding into the background, it's better for my growth and success to own what makes me unique. Embracing my individuality and leveraging my strengths helped me stand out and thrive in this highly competitive environment. I found that this mattered a lot more when applying for summer law student and articling positions. Employers were also looking for candidates that they could relate to and be comfortable around, and I wanted to be in an environment where I could be myself and valued for my unique contributions. Law school gave me confidence. Law school was the most challenging experience I've ever had. The competitiveness, the insecurities, the imposter syndrome, and doubt added an extra layer of difficulty to an already demanding new way of learning. There was so much reading. In my first semester of 1L, I was enrolled in 6 courses, and usually I would be assigned hundreds of pages of readings for each course. Then there are law school exams, which are a whole different beast. But I got through it. And that's my baseline for trying new things, that I went to law school and I got through it. I remind myself that if I could survive law school, then I can tackle this new challenge in front of me. Did I have to go to law school to get more confidence? Maybe not. Maybe I could have gotten here another way. I think this is why sometimes we seek challenging things, like running a marathon, learning a new language, or playing the piano. Setting goals and achieving them gives us data points, which then becomes a positive feedback loop. The process of overcoming obstacles helps build resilience, reinforcing the belief that we are capable of much more than we initially thought. By consistently setting and achieving goals, we create a pattern of success that encourages us to aim higher and to tackle more challenges. I needed to go to law school to help me realize that I can accomplish difficult things if I want them enough. So I channeled this newfound confidence in my creative interests. While I was articling, my inner voice kept telling me to pursue something creative, and I finally gave myself permission to do that. I created a public Instagram for my photography and I started sharing my photos. I started off by asking my family members to model for me. As my account gained more traction, I was having people reach out to me asking how much I charged for photo sessions. Then came bar exam preparation. I was so stressed while studying for the bar exams that I was dreaming about writing the bar exams. So I channeled this pent-up stressful energy into a creative project, which was my first YouTube video on how I studied for and passed the bar exams. As a longtime subscriber of many YouTube channels, I never imagined I'd be on the other side, creating videos for the world to see. The younger version of me certainly didn't have the confidence to do such a thing, but a lot has changed since then. Now I'm able to practice law while also satisfying my creative side. The cherry on top is being able to share my experience with all of you who are interested in the legal journey. I'm excited to see where my journey takes me next, and I appreciate you joining me on this ride. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you in the next one.